number of wise people in the Middle Ages by saying that we stand on the shoulders of giants. Well, you and I, Pat, have been standing on the shoulders of giants for 48 years now. And as we're sitting here in our living room in Boulder, Colorado, we're surrounded by a number of things that we have shown you or will show you on the video which we have produced. By 1963, as I've said earlier, I was involved in work for the military in Berlin, and we also decided, Pat and I decided, maybe we should get married, or we ought to get married, we would like to get married, which we did on the, what was the exact date, Betty?
July 5th, 1963.
July 5, 1963.
But before we got married, my parents came. My mom, and incidentally, being the good seamstress, did my wedding dress via mail and brought it ready for the wedding.
What did she make the wedding dress?
Yeah.
How did you get the measurements to her?
Oh, we sent a lot of letters back and forth in those days. But anyway, then they came, and before they came in July, I met up with my folks, and we did England in their Volkswagen camper, which they had purchased. And here you see one of the memorable evenings crowded into the camper. My dad took this picture. Here's my mom, my brother Mike, my little sister Jane, and me, as we were celebrating in someplace in England. And it was really, really a fun trip, a last trip as an unmarried daughter, so to speak. Then we went to Berlin, and there is where we were married.
Oh, yes. This is the church in which I had been a few times as a child in Berlin, and the church had not been damaged during the Second World War, but it was damaged 1 day or 2 days before we got married. Lightning struck the steeple. If that isn't an omen, I don't know what it is, but lightning struck the steeple.
Yeah, blew out the little things there, the
steeple.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the bell tower, small bell tower. Yeah. And still we got married. Our minister, he was the young boy who had been with me since first grade, I think, had been in Poland with me during the Second World War, in camp with me, and had decided to become a minister. So Dietrich, my friend, and volunteered to officiate as our minister, and he was very gracious. We had a lovely wedding on the, what was the date again?
July 5th.
Yeah. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Here you see a picture of us as we left the church.
Here is the newly married couple leaving the church on July 5, 1963. Correct. Yeah. I got it right.
And this is the immediate wedding party where you see my father and my mother. And it's very interesting because here I'm looking at my parents and he's looking at his parents. There's my Hayo and his mother and his father. And also in 1966, then our first son was born in Denver, Eric. And then we found ourselves moving to the first job that you had in Havre, Montana.
Which was Havre, Montana, for which I'd never heard of Northern Montana College before. But it was a job opening, and the pay was all right, not extravagant, but sufficient. So all three of us now, Pat and I and our little fellow, traveled in our Volkswagen camper, our first of a series of Volkswagen campers, which we bought from then on almost every other year, to Havre, Montana, with a U-Haul in the back. It was quite a caravan.
Yeah. And we arrived and we found that we could live in college housing for the professors, which were little frame houses with absolutely no insulation in Montana winters, which went down to 20, 30 below. And it was very hard, particularly with Eric, because he wanted to be on the floor crawling around. And on the floor, if you dropped water, it froze. And meanwhile, it'd be 90 degrees up in the air. But we survived 2 years in that house and saved enough money that we could put a down payment on another home where we lived for almost 20 years on Knob Road. And in Knob Road, then, is where our second son, Mark, was born 4 years later.
I was teaching at Northern Montana College, which later on became part of the Montana University system. It was part of the Montana University system already, but became part of Montana State University, which it is to this day. So I got an offer to teach for Troy University. I'd never heard of Troy University. I had no idea what Troy was. I finally got a phone call from somebody who says, "Ah, this is Jim Jones from Troy University." Ah, it was in the South, sure enough. Troy is in Alabama, and today I'm still teaching after 20, what, how many
I don't
years?
know. I don't know
22
anymore.
years in Troy University. Troy University offered a job to me in Europe at the European branch, and of course we grabbed it. Our boys had graduated by that time.
Yeah, well, Eric had gone to the University of Washington and he met his future wife in 5th grade in Havre, Montana. But the two of them were married then, and Mark had just finished high school, so he was accepted at Syracuse. And so they were both on their own, and so we were free to go to Europe then, where we thought we would be for a year or two, but it ended up being a 10-year stay in Europe, moving 3 or 4 times a year from one Air Force base to the next. First of all, we were living in Greece and Spain, and then the bases closed there, and then we spent most of our time in Germany and England with a little bit of time in Portugal.
Both our boys are now in Seattle, and our grandchildren, 2 grandchildren, Eric's kids and Lanelle kids are also in Seattle. It's been an eventful 20, 30, 48 years.
Yeah, really.
48, did I get it straight this time?
You got it straight.
And
yeah.
we're happy to put all our life story so far, not the entire life, I hope, yet, life story on tape, and we are looking forward to another many years in similarly worthwhile and beneficial to everybody occupations. And again, thank you, Beth, for doing all these things. Oh my God, oh, that's embarrassed.